Alright, the first thing I did on this project was I needed some wood, so I reclaimed this chair that I had made in high school, and I'm using it for the HitBox now, so sweet! So pretty much I just took off all the wood, and then I chose the best pieces for the project. Because it's reclaimed wood, I had to take out the nails. Next up, I had to start measuring. So this HitBox is going to be 11 inches wide by 19 inches long. Also, those pieces that you see on there, those nails, I couldn't get out, I'm just going to cut those pieces off. Remember, you know what they say, measure twice, cut once. At the time, I didn't have a smaller right angle to measure with, so if you have a smaller one, go ahead and use that. If not, be like me and use this huge one. After all that measuring's done, I cut all my pieces of wood to length on the miter saw. Now that all the cutting's done, it's time to do a dry fit. You want to do a dry fit to make sure everything fits good and looks good so far. Now the next part I didn't catch on camera. I forgot to set it up. I had it all ready to go and then I forgot to press record. My bad. So the next thing I did was I set up my table saw and I set it so I can cut my wood pieces 3 inches tall. And then I did another dry fit. Alright, so I had expectations to do finger joints on this box, but reality kicked in and I did my finger joints by hands because I didn't have the dado saw or whatever it's called, and yeah, fail. Luckily, I didn't do it on my actual work pieces. Awesome, not a fail. So the next thing I started doing, I just started sanding my work pieces. With the finger joints failing, I had to figure out how else I was going to put this box together without having screws on the outside. And this is what I came up with. I used these slotted angle joints to hold the box together. One thing is, I would say to get the shorter ones that I have in this picture, because the longer ones kind of interfered with where the top and the bottom was sitting at. Alright, and this is what's gonna hold up the top and the bottom of your HitBox. So I came up with just doing these cubes. These cubes that I made were 2 inches long, and I measured them to go in the middle of the 3-inch board. So I believe I marked it like the 2.5 and the 1.5 mark when I put it on the ruler or the measuring tape. But what I would do differently is next time I'd put a railing, so instead of just the individual blocks, you just put one piece of wood in where these blocks are, and then on the sides possibly, and on the top. But yeah, I would measure out how thick the top piece is, and then the bottom piece, so the acrylic and the piece of wood would be, and then put it there instead of the blocks. The blocks were good, it's just, I think it would have been a lot simpler just to put it like a railing inside. Here's the size of plywood that I used. I'm not really sure if it's called plywood, but it's just a thin piece of wood, so yeah. And then also here's are the sizes of the plexiglass that I used for the top and the bottom. So these pieces are going to be used for your buttons that you'll see right now that we're going to drill. And also I had my local hardware store cut the plywood and the plexiglass to, I believe, 17 by 11. So have them cut the plexiglass, so much easier unless you don't know the size. Then I would wait until you have your actual box frame built. Okay, so I'm taping my template because I already have that hole right there and I want to line it up as much as I can. I'm gonna use that. So I tape the paper here and then I'm gonna have to line this up with the board. You want to take your time lining up everything. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and tape my board to the plexiglass. And then before I cut it, I'm going to measure it in the box that we have already made. Make sure it all lines up okay. So I put it back in the box frame so I could see where the buttons would be placed and stuff and just see if it looks okay. I personally thought it looked fine, but later on I realized I could have separated the buttons a little more so my husband could have some more room, but that'll be on version 2.0. So the bit I'm using is called a step drill bit, and I'm marking the 1-inch line for this hole that I want to make. The bigger button hole on where your thumb goes is a 1 7/32 inches on your step drill bit. You want to make sure that you pre-measure first, so like use a scrap piece of wood and just drill holes and see if your button will actually fit there. After having the confidence after cutting so many holes, I'm actually starting to go faster, and in this clip I'm showing you how fast you can get away with without breaking the plexi, but I recommend starting off slow and then building your confidence up to make sure you're not going to ruin your piece. The speed on this clip was not edited, but just the time length was, so I just wanted to give you guys a glimpse on how fast or slow the drill is going when I'm doing this, just to let you know that it is taking time to still do it even if you are going fast. Some tips when you're cutting plexiglass is you want to leave that plastic that you can see, that's coming up when I'm drilling, obviously, but you want to leave that on your piece while you're working on it. So like if it comes up while you're drilling, that's fine, but supposedly it helps with you not cracking the plexiglass. So just leave it on until you're completely done with your project, and then you can peel it off. So now all the holes are in the plexiglass and the wood, sort of. So the wood needs to get drilled again because the girth of the plexiglass is a little bit thicker and it didn't reach the wood all the way to the 1-inch mark on the step drill bit. So I took off the plexiglass and now I'm gonna re-drill and sand so the buttons will actually fit. Alright, here's it all lighting up just to show you. Screw it in a little bit. But yeah, it fits. Now I gotta paint it. And don't forget to put your holes for your buttons on the top or the side of your hitbox, wherever you'd like them. I used a Frostner bit for this, just the 1-inch, because that's all I was going to have on the sides, so yeah. Alright, so the next thing is if you're going to have an art detail, you want to either Photoshop your own or get an image. Not saying use copyright, but yeah. My husband actually photoshopped this one, so I had it printed out at Staples, and then I brought it back home. I put it inside between the plywood and the plexiglass, and I marked it with a pin on where the circles were, and then I used an X-Acto knife to kind of cut it out, and I believe I used the button also to kind of make sure it was round. And then I kept the part that I cut out to put inside the button. I can now screw down the plexiglass, the artwork, and the plywood to the actual box itself. What I used was symmetric screws because they look kind of cool because they're going to be showing on the top of the hitbox, and they're black, so it looks nice. I drilled a hole through the plexiglass, the wood, and the box at the same time, so I pretty much put everything in there, and then I drilled it to the little 2-inch blocks that we have on the inside of the box. Dun 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 dun! We are now done building the box, putting all that stuff together. The last stuff we have to do is now wire. So I'm not going to walk through the whole process of wiring, but I am going to leave you guys a list of all the stuff that we bought for this project, for the wiring at least, and the internals of the hitbox. If you would like a more detailed version of how we wired it, let me know in the comments below and I can just make a video on how we wired it real quick. So the parts that we got for the internals of this hitbox were mostly from focusattack.com. They're not a sponsor, but I'll leave a link down in the description below so you guys can easily get your parts for your hitbox so you can start playing, having a good time. Okay, so now I'm going to show you guys the latency on the hitbox. So left, right, up, down. This isn't the perfect game to show you this, but you guys get the gifs. There's really no lag at all. For this game, I had to use a key mapper, but usually for fighting games, it kind of just picks it up just fine. I think it goes off the PS4 controller, but I'm not sure. But it's pretty easy to set up for the games and all that. Usually it's just automatic. You might have to map some keys in the game to your liking and stuff when you're playing fighters, but I'm not that great at fighters. My husband is, and this hitbox is for him, so yeah. But works good. I'm Emma with Spec and Reviews, and remember to rate, comment, subscribe. Thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and it was helpful for you to build your first hitbox. This was mine, and I think it came out great. Let me know what you think down in the comments below, and if you have any suggestions on how to make it better, or if you need help with your build.